BBMD stands for BACnet Broadcast Management Device. All it does is it watches for BACnet broadcast messages. As soon as it catches one, it converts it into a unicast, sends it directly to every single BBMD in its BDT. And when the other BBMD receives it, it converts it back from unicast to broadcast. It exists because in IT, an IP router has two primary functions. One is to route from one subnet to another subnet, but one that's really important, and the reason why our internet works, is that it blocks broadcast across subnets. But that's not good for BACnet. Device discovery, object discovery, alarms, unconfirmed change of value, all use broadcast messages. So if you have a device in one subnet and it's trying to send a discovery to another subnet, if you have an IP router in between without BBMDs, you can never discover across subnets. So BBMDs will collapse basically this IP router function that blocks broadcast by forwarding broadcast from one side as a unicast, which are allowed to traverse IP routers, and then will convert that unicast back to broadcast. So whether you have MSTP only network or only a BACnet IP network, do you need a BBMD? It really just comes down to whether or not you have multiple subnets. So let's say you have a BACnet system with only MSTP, but you have one supervisor, you have one BMS server, and it communicates with all the MSTP devices through BACnet routers. And those global controllers, those panels, those BACnet routers are on different subnets, then you will likely need a BBMD. If you only have BACnet IP, same thing. If your BACnet IP devices are only on one subnet, then you do not need BBMD. But as soon as there are multiple subnets, you likely need BBMDs. BBMD is a necessary device in most systems. It is also often the Achilles heel of BACnet systems. But there's a few best practices that we should all use. Number one, avoid having duplicate BBMD per subnet. Especially in a case where you have multiple vendors, decide which vendor will have a BBMD for that subnet instead of having multiple BBMDs. When you have multiple BBMDs, it duplicates that broadcast, and it can duplicate, triplicate, and create many-fold more broadcast traffic than necessary. The second is, especially in a system where it's a little larger, 1,000 device, maybe you have 5+ subnets, and I know many of you out there have 50+ subnets. Consider using a split horizon instead of a full mesh. That is, not every BBMD needs to know about every other BBMD. Perhaps only a small group of subnets where your server needs to see the broadcast messages from all the other subnets. In that case, don't do a full mesh, use a hub and spoke, or also what we call split horizon BBMD architecture. One suggestion, if you have the ability to, is to dedicate a device to be a BBMD, and definitely don't put the BBMD function on the device that's already very heavy. If that device is already operating a boiler, your chiller plant, don't use that device as your BBMD, because now it's going to have a lot of compute that it has to do for its own programming and its own sequence in combination with being able to forward these broadcast messages. BBMDs are quite difficult to troubleshoot. Excessive broadcast is one of the primary reasons why building automation systems don't operate at the desired performance. So if I may plug in here, use a software like Optigo Visual Networks to analyze how much BACnet broadcast message you have, and also where those messages are coming from. Perhaps you have a duplicate BBMD, and you can quickly identify those duplications and be able to eliminate it with the use of Optical Visual Networks. We are doing this series of short videos to answer any questions you may have. If you have questions around BACnet systems, how BACnet works on OT networks, how IT and OT works in combination, I would consider us the experts when it comes to that cross-section of technology. Send in your questions and we'll get to it. Thank you.